Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Monica Lou here with the forecast on Mercury retrograde. So I was inspired to do this video on Mercury retrograde because it is coming up. We will be having Mercury retrograde in March, so I am doing a video to prepare all of you for what is to come. Now, before I get into how Mercury retrograde is going to affect each sign, I'm just going to briefly discuss what Mercury retrograde is because some of you don't know what Mercury retrograde is. So, Mercury retrograde is when Mercury, the planet that is the closest to the sun, retrogrades. It goes backwards. Now, Mercury doesn't actually physically go backwards. What ends up happening is it's an optical illusion from Earth showing that Mercury is going backwards, but in reality, Mercury actually isn't going backwards. So the reason why we get a Mercury retrograde is because Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, okay? So for Earth, it takes Earth about 365 days to transit the sun, okay? That means that's one cycle, which is 1 year. With Mercury, it takes Mercury 88 days to go around the sun. So hypothetically, if we lived on Mercury, it would only take 88 days for one cycle to occur, which is considered 1 year, okay? So now with that being the case, because we are still going forward and doing 365 days out of the year, that's how Mercury is appearing to go backwards, because once Mercury does its 88 days, it starts to go backward, okay? So every 88 days, right, there is Mercury going backwards, but it's not really going backwards, if that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, comment below and I'll do another video on it, but I think it's pretty clear. Now, if you do the math, 88 times 3, you'll see that that equals to about 3, right? We get almost, 88 is almost 100. So therefore, as a result, we get 3 Mercury retrogrades within the year. And it makes sense because Earth is going 365. Okay, so every 88 days, there's usually a Mercury retrograde, okay, that occurs hypothetically from the Mercury standpoint, but I'm not going to get into it because it's too complicated. I want to keep this very simple for all of you who are interested in knowing all this stuff. Okay, so why is it important to know about Mercury retrograde? It's completely important, okay? Completely, and I mean like wholeheartedly. It's important that you know what Mercury retrograde is. Now, when I started studying astrology, a lot of people didn't know what Mercury retrograde is, but now there's more people out there that are becoming aware of it and who are more interested in Mercury retrograde. So Mercury retrograde is a time where things go haywire. And the reason why things go haywire is because Mercury is the planet of communication, okay? Now, as a smart astrologer, I'm doing these videos in advance. So I'm doing this video, the date today is February 5th. So the new moon was yesterday. So this is a perfect time now to do a video on Mercury retrograde. You don't want to do a video on Mercury retrograde a couple of weeks or even days before Mercury retrograde, because then you're sabotaging yourself And, you know, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk more about that. So Mercury retrograde is an important time for you to be aware, because Mercury retrograde, it's the communication planet, okay? So when we talk about the messenger, okay, the messenger is Mercury. The reason why Mercury is a messenger is because Mercury is the closest planet to the Earth, to the Sun. Sorry, not Earth, to the Sun. So this is the Sun, this is Mercury, okay? And Mercury is right here, and it's transiting the Sun. It takes 88 days, okay? So once it does the 88-day cycle, it stops and it goes stationary, okay? Which is a few days before the actual shadow occurs. So there's a shadow, there's stationary, and then the planet goes backwards, okay? So it's important to understand that, you know, when Mercury retrograde happens, you have to know that a few days before is when you're going to start feeling it. So there's typically during Mercury retrograde, there is miscommunication. You could have car problems. You can have issues with signing contracts. You could have issues with buying things, especially electronics. So it's so important that, you know, when we're going into this this cycle, that we're aware of what's going to happen in advance. Because if you're not aware of what's going to happen in advance, then that's when things crop up, okay? So this video is very important for you to watch, study, and understand, so that when we hit the end of February, you're preparing yourself. And I'm going to tell you in this video how you can prepare yourself for the retrograde that's going to be happening, okay? I believe March 4th, either March 4th or March 5th, and that's 2019 in the sign of Pisces, okay? And what I'm going to do, okay, I'm gonna go through my chart here that I have, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through each sign, okay, from the sign of Aries all the way around the zodiac. And I'm gonna explain to you exactly how it's gonna affect your sign and the area in which it's gonna happen, okay? So before I do that, I'm just going to go into depth a little bit more about Mercury retrograde, because I want you to have all the facts, okay? Okay, so Mercury retrograde, like I said, it's the planet that's the closest to the Sun. So Mercury is considered the messenger of the zodiac, okay? Mercury is the one that communicates all the messages from the Sun to all the other planets, okay, especially Earth, okay? So, okay, so yeah, so that's clear. The second thing that's important is Mercury retrograde is a time to relax, review, okay? The meaning retrograde is to go back, okay? So when we have Mercury retrograde is not a time to go out and do, it's not a time to start new relationships, it's not a time to start new jobs or start signing contracts, or, I mean, you could start a new relationship because Mercury doesn't rule. It doesn't really rule, love is not ruled by Mercury. Venus is ruled by love. So technically you could start a new relationship, but it's not recommended. And the reason why it's not recommended is because Communication is the number one thing that holds relationships together, okay? So you want to make sure that during Mercury retrograde, here's what you need to be doing, okay? Not starting relationships, not signing contracts, not starting new jobs, not buying new electronics, not traveling anywhere. If you can avoid traveling because Mercury rules travel, okay? Especially short distances, okay? Buying electronics, I said that. Cars, don't buy new cars. All these things are important. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because I've experienced it myself, okay? I've taken note of the experiences that I've had during Mercury retrograde, and I avoid doing certain things. So you might say, well, if I have to avoid doing all of these things, what can I actually do? Like, what can I do during Mercury retrograde where I can be sure that I'm doing the right thing, okay? So Mercury retrograde is a time, like I said, to rest, review, revise, redo, anything with RE at the front of it, okay? Redo, re-examine, reevaluate, review, okay? Redo is another good one. Anything that has RE at the front, okay, you could put reorganize, okay, reevaluate, revise, review, okay? All these things are what you should be doing. Furthermore, you should be tying up loose ends. So some of us may have started projects earlier in the year in January that did not get completed. So if you started, let's say you started a book, or you started negotiations, or you started to look, whatever, anything you started that you never finished, is the time that you take Mercury retrograde and you sit down and you reevaluate everything, okay? So we're reevaluating everything that we started that we did not finish, okay? Okay, so I got that out of the way. Now, the next thing that you have to keep in mind is computers are a big thing. The reason why computers are a big thing is because we live in a technical age. We live in a technical age, okay? So what does that mean? Living in a technical age means there's communication that happens over the internet. Like, you see me right now, I'm communicating to you, okay? If I was doing this video during Mercury retrograde or close to Mercury retrograde, it would be all fuzzy and blurry. You probably would not be able to hear me properly. There would be some issues, okay? So what does that mean? It means that anything that you want to start it now, okay? So we are in Tuesday, February the 5th. Now is the perfect time to start anything you want. If you have to sign a contract, do it now. If you have to buy an electronic, do it now. If you have to buy a new car, do it now. If you have to, anything that you need to do that's new, you do it now. You don't do it in the beginning of March. Now, some of you might not have a choice. Some of you it might just be inevitable that you have to start something. Now, if that's the case and you're one of those people, you have to be very clear in everything you do. You have to review, revise, and just be very clear. I don't recommend it, but if you have to do it, then do it. But if you don't have to do it, avoid doing it, okay? Because this is very important. Now, some of the things I'm going to recommend personally, and I'm going to do some of these things, clean your computer and your phones out. Phone, computer needs to be cleaned out. If your computer's slow or your phone is slow, I highly recommend going in, reviewing the documents that you have, erasing and deleting what you don't need, and get rid of it, because there's a lot of slowdowns during Mercury retrograde, okay? And you want to do these things 2 to 3 weeks before Mercury retrograde. You don't want to be cleaning out your computer, fixing your car, fixing your electronics, doing all these things during Mercury retrograde, because it's too much fuzz that's going on, okay? There's too much fuzz going on, there's too much stuff going on. So you really need to sit down, go through your computer, go through your phone, and ask yourself, do I need this? Do I need that? Do I need this? Do I need that? And if you don't need it, get rid of it. Just get rid of it, throw it out, you know, put it on a hard drive. You know, they have those hard drives now. You can connect it to your computer, just stash everything in there and have a clean, fresh computer, fresh phone, so that you can make sure your communication is clear. During Mercury retrograde, you want to make sure your communication is clear, very clear. You don't want to have bits and pieces here and bits and pieces there, okay? So just keep that in mind, all right? So I think I covered most of what is important to know. It's important that you know these things because it can really affect a lot of people, especially if you're not aware of what's going on, okay? So just make sure you're aware, keep your phone clean, keep your computer clean, make sure you touch up your car. If your car needs, you know, mechanical work, do it before Mercury retrograde. Things to do during Mercury retrograde: review, rethink, redo, reshape, remodel, review. Okay, so maybe you're in a business. Sit down and review your business, okay? Sit down and, you know, anything that rules Mercury, which is communication, short trips, you know, your neighbors, your siblings, these are all things that you want to review during this time, okay? Which rules Gemini, okay? Your hands. You communicate with your hands as well too, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my lovely board over. I love this board. It's my whiteboard. It's my vision board, but I have the zodiac on it just for you. Okay, so one of the things that I want to mention here is that Mercury is happening in the sign of Pisces, okay? Hopefully you guys can see my board. Okay. Yeah. So it's happening in the sign of Pisces. Now, Pisces is a very dreamy sign. It's very elusive, okay? It's very difficult. It's almost like you're dreaming, okay? Pisces right now has Neptune in the sign, okay? Now, I don't know exactly where Mercury is positioned in Pisces, where it's going to go retrograde, but I think, and don't quote me on this, I think it's going to be hitting Neptune. It might not. And if it is, I'll do another video on that. But right now, I just want to focus on Mercury retrograde and the effects it's going to have in Pisces, because Pisces is a very dreamy sign. So this Mercury retrograde that we have is very important that you know about it, because when Mercury goes in there and it starts to retrograde, not only is there going to be miscommunication, but there's going to be a lot of illusions, okay? So, you know, some people might overdrink, okay? Overdrinking, overdoing drugs. And the other thing I want to mention with Mercury retrograde is that Mercury retrograde, and this is knock on wood, you know, I don't have wood around. Maybe this is wood, but anyway, knock on wood. I see a lot of car accidents happen during Mercury retrograde, okay? And that means you have to slow down when you're driving, okay? If you're driving like a maniac and you're going here and you're going there and you're speeding up and you think it's cool to speed up, like slow down, okay? It's not cool to be driving like a maniac, okay? Because during Mercury retrograde, Mercury rules the vehicles, okay? It rules short trips and travels. And a lot of people get around with their cars. So, you know, I highly advise that you slow down, be a defensive driver during Mercury retrograde, okay? I'll put the dates of Mercury retrograde in the description below so that you can be aware of when it's going to happen, and also prepare 2 weeks in advance. So usually when the shadow happens for Mercury retrograde, that's when things start to go a little haywire. So even though Mercury retrograde is starting on, let's say, March 5th, the effects are going to start taking place 2 weeks in advance because there's a shadow period. So the planet Mercury doesn't just stop and start retrograding. It has this time where it slows down, right? Because think about it. When, you know, you're driving, okay, you're driving, in order to stop and go again, you have to come to a slowing down, okay? A car doesn't just stop. You know, you have to engage your brakes and it slowly slows down. And then as it slows down, okay, you come to a stop. But you're never going to, you know, if let's say I want to stop right now, I have to think about stopping and then I have to gradually stop. That's physics, right? Physics, the law of physics, right? So this is how the planet Mercury works. It slows down and then it stops. And then it goes, I'm gonna go backward. And then it starts to go backward. And then when it's about to go forward again, it slows down, stops for, you know, a day or two, and then it goes back again. Okay, so this is a process that happens with Mercury retrograde. And I want to discuss this process because I don't want to just go into the signs and be like, oh, Mercury retrograde is happening here, and therefore this is how it's going to affect you. No, Mercury retrograde is more than that. There's a lesson in it, okay? So I'm going to get my marker and I'm going to show you these lessons here of how this works. Okay, so my handy whiteboard. I'm in love with this board. Love. Okay. I'm going to do it here in the house of Libra, which is the 7th house, so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so Mercury has 3 phases in it, okay? It has 1, 2, 3 phases, okay? So you can see that, okay? So it has 3 phases, okay? In the first phase, that's when the planet slows down, okay? It slows down, okay? This is the part where it's like, I'm gonna slow down, boop, and then it stops. Then there's number 2, which is the actual phase of Mercury retrograding. Okay, so it's going backwards in this optical illusion. It's an optical illusion. It's not a real retrograde. It just seems like that from the planet Earth, from Earth. It seems like that. But if you were on Mercury, which we're probably never going to go to Mercury unless we have super spacesuits that will allow us not to get burned by the sun, you'll see when you're on that planet, it will never go retrograde. It's like Earth. Earth doesn't go retrograde. Maybe from the point of view of being on another planet, it does, because if we were on Mars, it would take longer to orbit around the sun than it would if you're on Earth, because Mars is farther from the sun. Do you understand? Okay, hopefully that's clear. So now we're in the Mercury retrograde phase in number 2. Then we get to the 3rd level, which is when the planet stops again. So it stops here and it stops again, and then it goes forward. okay? So you see there's a down, stop, Mercury retrograde, and then an up. So there's a down, stop, go, Mercury retrograde, stop, and then go up. So it's almost like Mercury retrograde is like this. It's like a wave, okay? And these waves happen 3 times out of the year. So every couple of months there's a Mercury retrograde. And the reason why there's a Mercury retrograde is because the universe, the cosmosis, is trying to say, hey, people on Earth, slow down. Review what you're doing. Don't just go out and do something because you want to do it. And a lot of us are just going, and we don't give ourselves a break. We don't stop to reevaluate, and that's why there's a lot of problems and there's a lot of issues in the world today. So we really got to slow down, okay? Don't think you have to get everything done in one day, okay? So just understand the cycle. You can write it down. What I highly recommend is people journal during Mercury retrograde because there's a lesson to be learned, okay? There's a lesson to be learned during Mercury retrograde. What is that lesson? Well, the lesson has stages, okay? There's a lesson, there's stages that happen in Mercury retrograde, okay? Usually what happens is at the beginning, there's a problem, okay? So in phase 1, so we're in phase 1, there's a problem. So we're presented with a problem. What is this problem? Okay, whatever it may be. Everybody has personal issues. You're going to see it, okay? I don't know what your problem's going to be, but there's something that's going to be a challenge for everybody to face, okay? It might be communication. I don't know. Phase 2, the problem starts to happen and evolve and evolve and evolve. And as it evolves, you know, you could feel like you're almost in distress. You can almost feel like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Like, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to make it work? Like, what am I going to do? So what you need to do is you need to sit down and you need to review your life. You need to review what's going on, okay? Because there's a hidden, during phase 2, there's a hidden lesson in phase 2, okay? That's like the down, when we're like down here, okay? This is the wave, okay? And then we have the down point. This is the down point. And the down point is like, it could be very, like, it could be very confusing, frustrating, and all of that. So make sure you keep in mind to look for this, and because there's hidden messages in here when this happens, okay? Then as we get to the end of our wave, okay, we start to realize the problem, and then we awaken and we're like, oh, okay, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I understand why that happened. Okay, so when that happens and that's the case, we have a revelation that happens here in phase number 3 as we're going up. And after we're done all of this, we're supposed to have learned something. We should have learned something from this. This is not something that happens for no reason, okay? So the miscommunication, all these things, the universe is trying to tell you that the spiritual realm is trying to tell you, hey, hello, you need to fix something because nothing is perfect, okay? So I wanted to explain this to you because I don't think there's really any videos. There might be, but this is my theory and my interpretation of my study in astrology. So this is, you know, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, how Mercury retrograde may have affected you, or maybe you experienced this before. And if you have, comment below, let me know what you think. Now I'm going to get into where the Mercury retrograde is happening. Okay, so I'm going to slide this over. And you'll see right here, this is Pisces, okay? This is Pisces, this is the 12th house. This is house number 12, okay? And now Pisces represents the spiritual world. It represents the realm that we do not see, okay? It's ghosts, demons, you know, anything to do with things that are beyond our control, like jails, hospitals, and it's highly connected to a Scorpio, which is located in the 8th house, okay, because they're both water signs. So how is this going to affect each sign? Okay, I'm going to start with Aries, which is right here in house number 1. Okay, so if you're a rising Aries or you're an Aries, preferably rising, it's going to affect your 12th house, because if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we get to the house 12. So for Aries people, you're going to feel almost like you're in a retreat, like something's happening inside of you, and this is where your revelation is going to come. It's going to come through spiritual means. So you might be battling things like, you know, there might be depression, there might be something that you're going through right now that you don't understand why you're going through it. But when Mercury's here, it's going to try to open up a realm. This is a realm that we don't even know. Okay, there's a lot of shifts that are happening right now. Okay, so this realm here, not only is it a double whammy because it's happening in your 12th house, but it's happening in Pisces, and Pisces rules the 12th house. And as a result of that, it means that you're going to be experiencing things that are out of this realm. Okay, it might be in your mind, it might be through hospitals, it might be through jails, it might be through spirituality. Okay, but that's where it's happening. And for Aries, it's important that, you know, you're cleansing your body, you're taking care of your body. Why? Because the 12th house is the opposite of the 6th house. And anytime something's going on in this house, we look at the opposite house to see how it's going to reflect, because you need to have a balance, okay? The idea of astrology, okay, is balance, okay? There's a reason why we have astrology in the first place. And astrology is there to show us balance, that we need balance, okay? So you might be battling with some health issues, Aries, or some you know, some psychological, you know, because you are going through a lot of changes. So during this Mercury retrograde, don't let this Mercury retrograde make you feel like you can't hold on, because the sign of Aries is going through major changes in March, and I had mentioned that in my previous videos. So if you're an Aries, make sure you're cleansing your body, you're staying grounded, you're not getting too emotional, because Pisces is a very emotional sign, okay? It's sensitive, it's emotional, it's very out of this world, it's confusing, okay? So don't allow whatever changes you're going through to bog you down, okay? Cleanse yourself, eat better, okay? Don't, if you're a smoker, you know, try to cut smoking out. Try to take care of your mind and your body. Do meditation. Go out in nature, okay? Ground yourself, because when Mercury is here, it can be intense, okay? Okay, so I'm going to move down to Taurus, and Taurus here is in the 2nd house. So if you're a rising Taurus or you're a sun Taurus, it's going to be happening in your 11th house, okay? So one back, okay? So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, okay? So it's going to be happening in the 11th house, which is your deepest desires, your community, your you know, anything to do with not community, but the collective, with the general public. Okay, so the 11th house also rules friendships as well too. Okay, so you want to make sure that during this time you're clear with your friends. You know, you have clear communication. You know, if you have any goals or desires, it's important that you reevaluate them now, okay? Because there's something that's going on with, you know, your you know, I would say like charity. Like if you're doing charity work, Taurus, or you are you have friends, or you're doing some projects with your friends, or not even that, but just goals in general. Maybe you have some goals that you wrote down. You know, it's time to reevaluate those, okay? And really question where your mind's at with that, okay? And now if you're dealing with friends during Mercury retrograde, it's important that you're clear with what you want, what you don't want. Make sure that you have clear communication with all of these things, anything to do with your goals, friendships, and if you're dealing with a large community, like if you're, you know, like Aquarius rules philanthropy. So if you're doing any philanthropic work, you want to make sure that you're clear about your intentions, why you're doing it, and so on and so forth. Okay, so yeah, so just make sure that when you, okay, so just make sure that anything that happens in the 11th house, anything that rules the 11th house, you're clear about that, okay? This can manifest in a lot of different ways because Aquarius is a very universalized sign, but it's also the sign, it's also the 11th house rules Uranus, okay? Uranus rules this house. So Uranus is, it's a very surprising planet. It's a planet of change. So during your phase, your Mercury, your 1, 2, 3 Mercury phase, there could be some surprises or changes that happen, okay, pertaining to the 11th house, okay? If you're a Taurus sun, it could happen anywhere in your chart. But for rising Taurus, it will happen in the 11th house, okay? So just keep in mind, be clear about your intentions with groups, large groups, organizations, friends, and if you have any goals, just reevaluate those goals, okay, Taurus, and really take this, the 3 steps, the 1, 2, 3, and take the time to really understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, okay? What you're doing and why you're doing it. Okay, so Gemini. Okay, so Gemini is right here, okay? And Gemini is the sign of communication. Now, Mercury retrograde affects Geminis more than any other sign because Mercury is its ruling planet. So if you are a Gemini, you know, pay attention because this is very important for you, okay? So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Mercury retrograde is happening in the 10th house for Geminis, and that's your career. So there might be some miscommunication with your career or your status in the world. It's important that you are clear about your intentions in your job and that the people you're working with, you understand what they want from you. So during Mercury retrograde, there might be certain expectations that your boss or maybe your clients have, if you're self-employed, maybe your clients are expecting something specific from you. Make sure that you are clear about what's going on because Capricorn rules the 10th house. However, your career for Geminis is ruled by Pisces, which is in the 10th house, okay? So you have to make sure that you're very clear about your status in the world and your career and how you go about doing your work. Perhaps you want to change the way you work or you do something in your work, but you have to communicate that and you have to make sure that you understand what people want from you. Because if we're not clear about what is expected of us, it can really hinder our job, and our job is our livelihood. Okay, our job is our livelihood. So it's important that you take this time to really reevaluate what you want, what you don't want, and if you need to make changes, do the changes after Mercury retrograde, okay, when you're on your up and up and after you've learned, okay, what you need to learn. Okay, Gemini? All right. So we're going to move on to Cancer. The sign of Cancer is in the 4th house, okay? It's ruled by the 4th house. However, this is going to be happening in your 9th house, Cancer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 represents our higher education. It also represents travel. It also represents the sign of Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is a very it's a very like expansive sign. So my intuition is telling me that for Cancer people, you may want to push forward and do something. There may be something that you really want to do, you want to push forward and do in your ninth house. And maybe learning another language or traveling somewhere, particularly traveling. Okay, some of you might be traveling. Now, if some of you are traveling, it's important to note that you have to be very careful when you travel. Okay, you can take my advice. You know, if you don't want to take my advice, I'm fine with that too. But I'm telling you, if you're traveling on a plane, if you're traveling in a car, whatever you're doing, make sure that you are safe, you have insurance, you are covered, okay? Because you don't want anything, again, knock on wood, nothing to happen, okay? Okay. So you're going to have an epiphany during Mercury retrograde with the ninth house concerning the ninth house. It might be your higher education. Maybe you're in school right now. Maybe, you know, there's something that you want to change, okay? Make sure if you're in school that you're clear with all your assignments. If you have an assignment to hand in, make sure you're clear about your intention. Make sure you have the right wording, the right notes. All of that stuff, okay, Cancer? So make sure you're clear about what is expected of you in school, if you are in school. Some of you might be in school, some of you might not be in school. If you're traveling, make sure you have insurance, make sure you have your health care, make sure you have your seatbelt on in the car, make sure you have your insurance in the car, make sure you have your driver's license. All these things are important, okay? Because Mercury is happening in the 12th house. It's a very fuzzy house. It's a fuzzy sign in a fuzzy house, and it's not clear. It's very muddled and mumbled, jumbled, and so make sure you're clear on that. The ninth house also represents foreign languages. So if you're communicating in a foreign language, if you have a job that you're communicating with in a foreign language, make sure, again, you're very clear with your communication, you're clear with your writing. And just be prepared for those things. If you're trying to expand something at this time, Cancer, I highly recommend hold off on it, review it, revise it. Don't go ahead and push through with something huge right now. If you do have any, if you want to purchase something big, like expansive, you're trying to expand your home, or you're trying to expand, your knowledge for other cultures, not really your home, because that doesn't rule the ninth house, but if you're trying to move forward and expand anything in your life, hold off until mid-April, okay? Okay. We're going to move into Leo, okay, which is in the 5th house. Leo's ruled by the 5th house. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Mercury is going to retrograde for Leos in the 8th house, and that's the house of taxes and the house of death and the house ruled by Scorpio. Okay, so that's Scorpio right here. That's the 8th house, okay? Now, Leo, it's important that, rising Leos, it's important that you get your taxes ready, okay? Especially now, because it's going to be tax season in March. If you're a Leo, I actually recommend this for everybody, but if you're a Leo specifically, get your taxes ready in advance. Don't wait. Because I have a feeling that because Mercury retrograde is happening in your 8th house, there could be some miscommunications about money, about what you really made this year. Perhaps you projected making more than you actually did, and there might be some issues with that. So make sure that you know what you earned, how much you earned, how much taxes you have to pay on what you earned, and get it done in advance. So if you're watching this video and it's, February 5th or 6th or 7th, get your taxes done mid-February if you can. Book an appointment with your accountant. Get it done as quick as possible. Don't let it linger, okay, Leo? Don't let your taxes linger, because Mercury is very muddled this March, okay? It's muddled, it's murky. You don't want to waste time, because there's going to be a lot of issues for a lot of people, a lot of slowdowns, a lot of miscommunication. So make sure that you get that done in advance, okay? that's pretty much what I have for Leo. That's, you know, am I getting any other messages for Leo? You know, and there's also, with, you know, joint finances rule this house. Okay. So if you have any joint finances with anybody, if you have a partner and there's money being exchanged between you and your partner, you have to have a clear communication with them about what is expected when that money is exchanged. So if you're buying something with your partner and you're sharing the expenses, it can be sharing expenses for property you guys are getting. It could be, you know, anything shared with somebody. It could be a house, it could be a car, it could be, I don't know, what do you share with your, if you know, if you share the bills with your partner or whatever. Make sure you're clear on what you expect and what certain monies are for, because sometimes people might say, well, you know, I'm putting half of this money towards this bill and then it never gets paid, or something happens and there's miscommunication. Make sure you clear all that up way before March, okay? Second week of February, which we're going to be going into pretty much, get it done now and plan everything out for March with joint finances, anything to do with taxes, anything to do with transformations, like some of you might be dealing with certain death, you know, death certificates and you know, some, you know, if there's burials or anything like that. I know that's kind of like, oh, you don't want to hear that, but this is the reality of what this house represents, okay? So that's for Leo or rising Leo, okay? So taxes and joint finances are a big thing you have to sort out before March, okay? Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury. It's the second sign that's ruled by Mercury. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So for Virgos, you're dealing with a partner in this case. You're dealing with you might be dealing with a relationship or a business partner, okay? Two things for Virgo. You need to have clear communication with your partner. I feel like there's going to be some confusion with the communication with you and your partner, okay? You need to set boundaries. You need to make sure you know what you want. You need to make sure that you're communicating with your partner, okay? If you have a business partner or your partner is your business partner, make sure you communicate with them, okay? Let the person know how you feel, Virgo. I know Virgos can kind of hold in the way they feel about things. And there can also be some you know, drug abuse and alcoholism. You know, you have to be aware of that, Virgo, okay? So again, you're going through the phases like everybody else. Communicate with your partner. If you have an issue with your partner, let your partner know in advance. You know, make sure your priorities are straight at work. You know what's expected of you. If you have a project coming up with a business partner, make sure you have a paper and you lay everything out. Whiteboard. Virgos need a whiteboard because they can sit down with a black marker and they can say, okay, this is how I want things. This is how things need to be, blah, 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 blah. However they need to be. You need to sort that out with your business partner or your relationship. I sense that Virgos, I'm getting this intuition that I sense there's going to be changes during Mercury retrograde for a lot of people that are in relationships. If you are a Virgo, there may be some ups and downs with your relationship. So make sure that you communicate. You set a time to sit down and to communicate with your partner. Don't leave things to linger, okay? So make sure you're communicating. It's very important. So yeah, so if you're a Virgo, like I said, partnerships, business partnerships, anything in relation to that, make sure you're very clear, okay, on expectations and all of that, okay? Moving to Libra, sign of Libra. So Libra's in the 7th house right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Libra, Pisces is in your 6th house. So that means anything to do with health, Okay, you have to take care of your health. It's important that you're taking your vitamins, you're getting your sleep, you're getting exercise. Don't be unclear about those expectations, okay? If you have, let's say you're a Libra and you have plans to, I don't know, you have like a health regime or something like that, I recommend that during this Mercury retrograde, you focus on correcting your regime. Okay, so some of you might hit a plateau in your workout. Maybe you're trying to get rid of an extra 10 pounds. Make sure that you're reviewing that. Okay, so if there's something you're working towards in your health, and this again is going to affect your 12th house as well too, because those are the opposite sets where you have to balance. So just keep in mind, everybody, that I didn't say this for all signs, but it just hit my brain right now. If you're having issues in the house that I talked about, so let's say, we'll go back to Virgo, okay? Virgo, I said it was happening in your 7th house, okay? Sometimes you have to change yourself. There's something you have to change in yourself in order to change something in the 7th house, okay? Let's go back. Leo, Mercury's happening in your 8th house, but there might be something you have to change in your 2nd house. Do you understand what I'm saying, everybody? If you want clues on how to overcome this I call it a trial period. Okay, so trial period is this. This is something you have to learn during Mercury retrograde. It means that you have to look to the opposite house. Okay, let's go back to Cancer. So Cancer, this is happening in the 9th house. Well, what's the opposite of the 9th house? Okay, it's the 3rd house, correct? Because if we're looking at the 9th house here, okay, and then we go across, that's Gemini. So across, it's Gemini. That means that communication is going to be extremely important for Cancers, okay, during Mercury retrograde season. Communication is the key to unlock. You're unlocking this 3-step system. This is a 3-step system that's happening, okay? No astrologer is going to tell you this because it's my theory, okay? I'm sure, a lot of other people are going to use it, but this is my theory, and I've been studying astrology for a long time. So there's something you have to unlock here, okay? Gemini, this is happening in your 10th house. So the opposite of the 10th house is the 4th house. So you have to balance something in your home in order to get the result in your 10th house, okay? Taurus, this is happening in your 11th house. So you have to balance something in your, what's the opposite of the 11th house? So, so the 11th house is the 5th house. So something to do with, your children. Maybe you need to balance your time with your children and time with your goals or something like that. But if you look at what's going on in the 5th house, and that's for Taurus, you'll have an unlocking of what is needed in the 11th, okay? And going back to Aries, this is happening in the 12th. So again, you're going to unlock something with your health. Something with your health needs to be changed in order to unlock the secrets of what Mercury is trying to tell you. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense for everybody. So wherever Mercury retrograde is happening in your chart, it could be in the 1st house, in the 2nd house, wherever Mercury is effectively going retrograde, look to the opposite house, okay? So, for example, if I'm an Aries, I'm going to look at the 6th house because Mercury retrograde is happening in my 12th. So therefore, the results are going to happen from the 6th. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I'll explain it more or comment below, but I'm sure it makes sense for everybody, okay? So Virgo, this is happening in your 7th house, which means the opposite of the 7th is the 1st house. You need to change something within yourself in order to get the results that you want, okay? All right, Libra, this is happening in your 6th. So spiritually, there might be something that you need to awaken yourself to, okay? Maybe in your dreams, there's something that you need to let go, okay? So always look to the 12th house for that, okay? But it will be affecting for Libras the health, okay? Your sleep, your vitamins, water. Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough water? Okay, sleep, water, vitamins, exercise, walking, breathing. Are you breathing in and out every day? Okay, where's your mind? Think about your mind, okay? Scorpio, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Scorpio, this is happening in your 5th house, which rules children. It also rules romances, and it also rules sex, and it also rules animals, okay? So your 5th house is the opposite of community, like not the community, but the I keep confused. Community is more Gemini 3rd house, but I mean collective community, like your goals and all of that. So with Scorpios, there might be a romance that might be a little bit confusing that you've been dealing with, or maybe you have children. Some of you might have children. So there might be some confusion or communication difficulties with your children. So make sure you clear that up with them if you do. And, you know, it's important that, you know, you balance your goals. So whatever goals you have to balance it between you know, like if you have a romance, if you have a new romance, or you're dating somebody, there might be goals that you have, but you have to keep focused on your goals. Okay, keep focused on your goals. Have a clear communication about this romance that you have, because you might have a new romance with somebody, but there isn't really a clear definition of where it's going or what's going to happen. So make sure you're communicating what you want, what you need with your children, with any new romances that you may have. Make sure you're balancing your goals as well too, because some of you have goals that you want to achieve, but if you're so busy with children, or you're busy with a new romance, or you're busy with taking care of pets or animals or something like that that deals with 5th house situations, you may be neglecting other parts of your goals that you have for yourself. So just keep that in mind, okay, Scorpio? Sagittarius, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is happening in your 4th house, okay, Sagittarius. So there may be some confusion with your home life, okay? There may be some unfinished business there with your home life, and make sure you're communicating with the people in your home, the people that you live with. There could be some transformations happening. Perhaps you feel a certain way about something that happened with your family. If you do, make sure you're clear with the communication. Don't let things linger. This is really going to affect Sagittarius, I think, mostly out of all the other signs. And the reason why I say that is because right now, Sagittarius has Jupiter in their sign, and that's doing a heavy square to Neptune. So the Mercury is going to be in Pisces, and right now, so you're going to see, if you see it here, I'll turn the board a little bit more. Okay, so this is Sagittarius at the top of my chart, and I have Pisces here. Now, as you can see, this is a 90-degree angle, okay? So this is 90 degrees, okay? What does that mean? That means a square. How do you know it's a square? Well, look, it makes a square. That's a square, right? 90 degrees is a square. In any square, it's always 90 degrees. Okay, so I'll draw the 90 degrees here. That's considered 90 degrees, right? Okay, so Sagittarius, right now, yeah, Jupiter is in your sign, but let's be real, okay? There is going to be confusion with your opportunities and goals, and some things may appear to be good, but might be confusing. And this is not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that you need to have very constructive criticism about anything that approaches you, any opportunities, anything. You have to be clear, because a lot of you might get involved in things and you might think, oh, this is amazing, this is great, and then it turns out that it's not, or that, not that it's not good, but that the communication wasn't clear. So Sagittarius, you have to make sure that your communication this March needs to be clear cut, okay? How do you feel about things? You need to make sure in your neighborhood, maybe you're working with people in your neighborhood, maybe you're dealing with siblings, maybe you're dealing with brothers and sisters, maybe you're dealing with the community, maybe you're working in the community. You have to have a clear cut expectations. So if you're getting involved with somebody in your community through a job or anything like that, don't just jump on the opportunity and think, oh, this is great, this is amazing, but you don't have all the facts. Make sure you have all the facts. Make sure you're communicating clear. Make sure the other person you're dealing with knows what you want. Don't just jump into something because you're like, oh, this is an opportunity or whatever. So Sag, it's so important for you now because this is happening in your third house, and Mercury rules the third house, and it's ruled by Mars. So it means that, or sorry, not Mars, and it's ruled by Pisces. So it means that it's time to really, really rethink everything that you're going to be doing and getting into in March, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, the opposite of the third house is travel and expansion, which is your ruling house. So you might feel like there's something that you need to do, that you personally need to do in order to make the situation better. And I think that, you know, I've said this in many other videos, Sagittarius, you need to communicate more, okay? You need to communicate, you know, your intentions logically. Don't get emotional about things logically, because what can happen is with Neptune there, it could be very fuzzy and blurry, and it could be deception. So make sure you're clear in your thinking, okay? Capricorn, this is happening in your second house. That means money. So anything to do with money, if you're buying and purchasing new electronics, don't do it in March. Please don't do it. It's not a good idea to do that, okay? Save your money for April, mid-April, or if you're going to buy electronics or you're going to change or exchange anything, do it in February, do it now, or do it in April. Do not do it in March, okay? Because there will be some miscommunications. Anything to do with your finances, taxes as well, that's something I would do now. Clear that out of the way. Don't wait for that, okay? Also, Capricorn is going through major changes karmically. They're going through a lot of changes. So it's important that, you know, you're saving your money as well too. Don't be overspending in March, because you might spend money, and then you might say, oh geez, I shouldn't have spent money. I should have saved my money. I shouldn't have bought this. I shouldn't have bought that. So only buy things that are of necessity in the month of March. If you're traveling, Capricorn, I highly suggest that you postpone it in March. Don't travel anywhere in March if you can help it. If you can't, just make sure you take the proper precautions, okay? Precautions, you know what I mean? Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. I made a mistake. Okay. Sagittarius is happening in the 4th house. I think I said that, okay? I said communication and 3rd house. That was wrong. That's for Capricorn. Confusion, because this video is an hour long. Bear with me. I'm just going to rewind and do that again. I'm not going to edit it, so you will see raw. My videos are raw, people. They're raw, okay? So Sagittarius, so yeah, your 4th house. So communication with your family. I said siblings because siblings is kind of like your family. You might be living with them, but make sure that you're being clear in your communication with your family. If there's something that you wanted to say to your family before, you should highly go back and review and do any chatting or anything that you need to do about that. Now, Capricorn, it's happening in the 3rd house. My bad, sorry. So everything that I said for, not everything, but partially what I said for Sagittarius, I meant for Capricorn. So Capricorns, this is happening in your 3rd house. So it means your communication, not your money. Sorry, that's for Aquarius. Oops. So for Capricorns, this is happening in your 3rd house. So this is going to affect you on a communication level. Whereas with Sagittarius, it's happening in the 4th house. The 4th house for Sagittarius deals with family, okay? So something, maybe you have to review something that happened with family, or there might be some miscommunication, or there might be changes happening within your family, and it's important that you communicate those things with your family. For Capricorns, this is happening in the third house. And the third house is anything to do with short trips. If you're traveling around in a car on short trips, wear your seatbelt, make sure you have your documents clear with your insurance and all that. Don't be driving insurance lists. Make sure that you have your driver's license. And if you're going to communicate with anybody through text, make sure that it's clear and concise. So your communication, your writing style, Capricorn, needs to be cleared and not muddled, okay? A lot of the time Capricorn has difficulty communicating during Mercury retrograde when it's happening in this phase, okay? So yeah, and just going back to Sagittarius, I'm kind of doing it like double here. Sagittarius, the opposite of your fourth house is your 10th house, okay, which is the house of career, right? Yeah, let's just make sure 10th house is here. Yeah, the opposite, yeah, is Cancer. So you need to balance, Sagittarius, your work and your family. There's something going on. You're either overworking or something's going on right now. So you really have to figure it out. You know, give your family the time that they need, okay? So there might be, that might help uncovering what your lesson is here during the Mercury retrograde. Okay, Capricorn, your lesson is happening with the 9th house because the 3rd house is opposite. So there may be some travel. You maybe have to travel or something like that to communicate afar or something like that. Again, like I said, if you're traveling, make sure you're taking the right precautions, okay? Okay, we're gonna move to Aquarius. Aquarius, this is happening in your 2nd house, is your money house, okay? Pisces is your money house. So kind of what I was saying for Capricorn, but scratch that out. Don't listen to what I said, just scratch it out. If you are an Aquarius, your money, don't overspend. Don't be overspending. Don't be buying electronics. Save your money until the end of March. Actually, don't even buy anything in March. Wait till April. Or if you have to buy something now, buy something now. Just to go back to Capricorn, I missed something there that's telling me right now. I have to tell you. Capricorns, make sure you clear your computer and your phones out because, you know, and also check your cars. Okay, some of you have cars, computers, and phones. Make sure you update your car if you need to update the fluids in your car, get your car checked, and also clear out your computer and your phone. I forgot to say that, going back to Aquarius now. Okay, Aquarius, so this is happening in your 2nd house, money house, okay? You have to make sure you don't lose money in March because in March you could lose money, okay? Make sure you know and you have your priorities straight when it comes to where your money is going, okay? Because money for you is very important. Now, there might be a lesson to learn in terms of shared finances with somebody, Aquarius. You might be sharing finances with somebody. Make sure you're clear about that as well, too. There might be a lesson there. Anything to do with shared finances or taxes as well, too. So make sure you get your taxes in early if you're an Aquarius, okay? During this March, get it done early. If you're a Pisces, this is happening in your 1st house, and there's going to be a lot of confusion about Pisces with themselves, okay? You're going to be going through a lot of transformations, letting things go, Pisces. You're kind of on a next phase of your journey. You might be going through a journey within yourself, and a lot of people might not see it, but it's happening within you, okay? Some people that are close to you may see it. Others who are not close to you may not even know about it. But there will be some, you know, it's very similar to Aries. Aries and Pisces will be experiencing a similar thing that's going on with the changes that are happening. So just make sure that, you know, Pisces, you're grounding yourself. Make sure that you're cleansing your body and you're taking care of yourself, okay? That's super, super important for you. You're eating healthy, taking time out for yourself, okay? And understanding the changes that you're going through because you are going to be going through a lot of changes, okay, Pisces? So again, the opposite house of the 1st house for Pisces is the 6th house. So that means health. Health is a super important thing for a lot of you Pisces. Some of you are overworking yourself, okay? Pisces, you're overworking yourself. You need to ground yourself. This is a big time where you're going through a lot of changes, okay? So please ground yourself, you know, be good to yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Some of you Pisces are being hard on yourselves. You're pushing yourself too much. And I'm worried with Pisces, your lesson, I'm actually getting it from Spirit right now. You really have to slow down. And if you don't slow down, something might slow you down. And it will literally slow you down, okay? So make sure you're taking the time out to take care of yourself, eat right. You know, if you're doing a bath, spend time in the bath. Don't go in for 5 minutes and jump right out. Take time to really, really have that time for yourself. I know you want to help Pisces right now, you guys want to help everybody. You want to help this person, help that person, and do this, and you got to help yourself during this time, okay? February, slow down. In March, completely slow down. You know, don't do as much work as you've been doing, okay? Don't overwork yourself. It's not good. Not good. Not good. Okay, so that covers all the signs. I think I was pretty clear with most of them. I'm sorry there was a little bit of a shake-up with the Sagittarius and Capricorn. Oops. But I think it was pretty clear. If it wasn't clear, I don't mind doing another video for that, but I don't think it's going to be necessary. Yeah. So yeah, guys, I just want to thank you for tuning in. I know this video is going to help somebody out there, and I'm glad to always share my knowledge with you about, especially about Mercury retrograde. If there's any confusions or you're like not sure about what I was talking about or it's unclear, you can always comment below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. My channel it has a lot to do with self-development. I have a lot of videos coming out that are going to be about self-development, and for me, like, my videos are always letting you know in advance. So if there's going to be cosmic changes happening, it's good to tune into my channel because you'll be able to know what's happening before it actually happens, okay? Because I'm always up to date on what's going on planetarily in the skies. So there's that, and also my channel is going to be featuring other things like how to develop your money. So like if you're interested in developing your money and how can you start businesses online, building empires online. I'm interested in building empires online, building, securing money online. So if that's something you want to do, you want to expand maybe you already have businesses, or maybe you want to expand your business, or you want to just simply learn more about starting businesses online, I will be having more videos on that as well. Also, I'll be having videos on relationships as well, anything to do with self-development. So if that's something you're interested in, please subscribe below. This is a fairly new channel, so any support that I get and any way I can help other people, that's why I'm here, okay? I'm here to help you guys, okay? Okay, so again, thank you for tuning in. Any comments or questions, please comment below. I will make another video answering your question if I feel like, I need to do a video for it. I will also be including in the description box the dates of Mercury retrograde and just some instruction on what you need to do to prepare for Mercury retrograde. I highly recommend that you re-watch this video so that you are prepared for Mercury retrograde and you can understand where it's going to affect you in your chart, okay? So yeah, thanks guys for tuning in, and I wish you guys all the best in February, okay? Bye!